Hey, what's up, everybody? DDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so feel good, man. Just left a therapy session up there. It started off as a Laker video, but I got so far away from the Lakers conversation, I didn't even think it was relevant to even keep that going. And I don't know that it had enough Laker stuff in it to actually even call it a crossover video. Got so far away from the Lakers, I don't even think Laker fans want to hear that unless they were intentional on following my therapy session process too. So that's a de facto Laker therapy session. It's not labeled a Laker therapy session. So if you do follow both, you might be interested, because it really did start off with me talking about the Laker schedule and all that type of stuff that I know my therapy session people don't care about. But hey, man, I make what comes to mind, and I thought it was necessary to post that in the end. There was a lot of challenging people to do the right things there in the end, by way of a conversation that was about sports betting and how I think it's no good for the NBA. But nevertheless, we're paying attention to what's going on, because obviously what's going on around us matters. And in this case, it's a different conversation I want to bring to this video. And that is, of course, everything that's going on with the genocide in Gaza, and then how that ties into the election that's coming up in a few days. I'm not in a spot where I'm sure of what place I'm going to vote. I haven't been getting my mail, so I don't know where they got me registered to vote. Probably somewhere in Inglewood. And given the fact this thing is like 4 days away, I got to give it some thought as to whether or not I want to trek out to Inglewood, or if there's another way to vote, or if I'm just not voting. But I do believe that this is an election you want to vote. This is one of the more important elections of our lifetime. So if I don't vote, it won't be because I didn't think it was important. It was just going to be because I couldn't find a way to vote. But if I figure out a way to, or if I wake up that morning with the intention of getting down there, I'll go. But as of right now, I don't know where I'm registered this go round to vote. Probably somewhere in Inglewood. So yeah, that's the reality of it, man. I know I don't really know of all the paths that are available to me to vote. Last time I checked, you couldn't vote online. It wasn't as simple as log in, vote, and go away. You got to either show up somewhere or mail it in or something like that. So if that's changed, that'll be great for me. But if it hasn't, then we're still at square one in regards to I don't know how the hell I'm going to be voting. But I think people need to consider what's in front of us. All the stuff that we've talked about on this channel, if you've been following it very closely over the last year, you understand that I understand that both candidates are in support of genocide. Both Trump and Harris are especially intentional on providing Israel further support to engage in any and all strikes. And those strikes are essentially against people who don't have anything, targeting children. It's what it is. And as much as we seem to act as if we care about one another's feelings, as we care about children, as we're humanitarians, as we're all these different feminist rights, it's whatever the word would be, that we're these stand-up individuals, when it comes to Israel's enemies, we don't view them as human. And that is such a barbaric point of view for people living today. Regardless if it's beneficial to the powers that be, that we continue on that path, all of us have to look in the mirror and understand that that is a path that in any other place we would shun. And a lot of us despise hypocrisy, but for the sake of staying aligned with the powers that be, we will be hypocrites. And that, I think, is something that we really need to look in the mirror and figure out if we're okay with it. Figure out if you're okay with it. You know, someone like Beyonce got on stage and said that she was for Harris. Like, why? You know how many Palestinians' mothers have lost their lives? How many little girls have had horrible things happen to them, including losing their lives in this genocide? Why would you, as a self-proclaimed feminist, align with that? Align with anybody who would be okay with that? unless you're just completely and utterly in the dark about what it is that's going on here, which I find to be impossible, or utterly bankrupt yourself, or highly compromise in the sense that it's in your best interest to align with something that's not morally correct so that your secrets can be kept. You know, it just speaks to the corruption of Hollywood and the nefarious actions that could be going on. And so for me, it's like, I don't trust Hollywood at all. I've been telling y'all this. I'm from Hollywood, the city. But as it pertains to these celebrities, very few of them have either any backbone or are so corrupt and evil and guilty themselves that they will allow children to die and they will support it in order to keep their secrets quiet. It's literally what it is. It's literally what it is. That they will co-sign monsters in the slaughtering and the terrorizing of children so that they can appear to be relevant in a society where that appears to be supported. And they call themselves leaders. You know, it's cowardice. It speaks to a lack of faith in something greater than themselves, that they could otherwise be a solution to said problems. It speaks to the devious nature of their own behaviors currently. We're clearly seeing when they're being silent in the presence of this. It speaks to how corrupt the people are behind them and the pressure that's potentially being placed upon them to be as corrupt as they are and to support the things that they do. It speaks to them to maybe even a third conversation about things that may have been done to these celebrities that would ultimately compromise their brains. You feel me? Like literally. Lobotomizing the hell out of these people and putting in their minds what they want there so that they will never defect or think for themselves or support anything that would otherwise need supporting in order to save lives. You got a better thought in your head about what is actually happening there? Because I can't seem to come up with anything that makes any damn sense. That people with children, they got their own kids, that they would be willing to co-sign the slaughtering of other people's children and call themselves good human beings. I don't get it. I really don't understand why somebody would do that. Or how they call themselves sophisticated individuals and then look at human beings and say, no, they're not human beings. They're animals, or, you know what I'm saying? Some primitive, low frequency thought like that allowed them to move forward. There's nothing anybody could tell me. There's nothing anyone can hand me to make me look at human beings and say they're animals and therefore deserve to suffer. I don't think animals deserve to suffer. So that ain't gonna never work on me. I personally ain't a fan of when people kick dogs and slaughter pigs. I'm not a fan of any of that. I see chickens getting their head ringing around and cutting their throats. I'm not a fan of that. So the idea that human animals deserve to be treated poorly, I don't know. I didn't get that memo. I must have missed that course. I understand I'm in a society where people look at people like me like we're crazy because we don't co-sign such behaviors. People look at people like me and say we're out of our minds because we would dare stand up for Palestine. You know what I mean? They look at people like me and say I must be a terrorist supporter because I'm not aligning with the lies and I'm thinking for myself. The lies being told about these people and about the intentions of our country in regards to supporting Israel and killing these people. Because I'm too busy trying to put two and two together instead of just listening to people and not in my head, suddenly I'm a weirdo. I watched a 1.5 hour long documentary yesterday about what's going on in Gaza. Al Jazeera English put that thing up on the 7th of October. I encourage everybody to check it out. It's already got 1.6 million views. And you know what I learned in watching that 1.5 hour bit of documentary? Nothing. You know why? because I had seen a lot of that stuff happen when it happened through my Instagram feed. There was nothing there that I hadn't already seen. And that's really sad, because it's a lot of people who don't know what's going on there. They have no idea the evil I've seen. They have no idea of how much suffering I've seen. But the reality is, if you watch that documentary, you get a good fraction of it. They zero in on about 8 or 9 different stories. Small fraction. With what it is I've seen, they have to do a whole volume, a whole series of documentaries. That's the reality of it. To tell the full stories of the things that I've experienced in my phone in real time, they got to make about 6 or 7 of them damn documentaries. And I don't think I've seen everything. I'm pretty damn certain I ain't seen everything. But that's how much has been done. I didn't see a single story that I hadn't already watched and witnessed as it was happening. That's the scary part. It's not that I learned these stories after it happened. It's that stuff was in my phone as it was going on. I remember when Hen died. I remember when they told us they had found Hen before she had died. I was following that. I remember when they stormed Al Shifa Hospital. I remember when they were preparing to storm Al Shifa Hospital. I was watching all of that. So when somebody tried to tell me, for example, that this is about Hamas, I tell you that I've been watching all of this. I've been watching all of it. That I could probably educate you more about the details of what it is you support than you can educate me about the propaganda that you want me to believe. I wasn't passionate about this conversation. I was witness to horrible things that will torment me for the rest of my life. I wasn't somebody going around screaming free Palestine before I understood what was happening there. I didn't care no more than a lot of these people did, because I was rocked to sleep by the notion that things are politics, and I'm not interested because I'm a sports fan. I personally like music. I'm not really into politics. I know how a lot of the people think in this country. I also know there's a lot of people standing behind us acting as if we support what it is that they're doing in regards to this nonsense. If you look at what I saw yesterday, it was about 8 or 9 different politicians simultaneously tweeting throughout the course of an hour and a half that America supports Israel. When I know that 90% of Americans don't even know what's going on there. You are being used as a human shield. They're hoping that when people come back to strike, they will strike all of us instead of zeroing in on them, because of course they have told the world that we stand behind this nonsense. So when it's time for somebody to come back and get back for it, they'll want to destroy everybody. You're a human shield. That's why it's so important for me on my channel as a Westerner to speak out and say, I have no interest in aligning with anything having to do with Israel. I don't know any Israeli people. I don't know any Iranian people. I actually don't know any Palestinian people. But what I can say is, over the last year and some change, I have watched so many different Palestinian people pass away in my phone that I feel I'm obligated to say something. That I've seen so many dead children in my phone that I have a hard time living my life comfortably without considering some of those images from a day-to-day basis. Considering the trauma that has been applied to those people, that has also been applied to my psyche by way of witnessing all of that trauma that's been applied to those people. Am I supposed to ignore that because a couple of celebrities who are obviously either too corrupt to pay attention to this, or in a space that I was in before they learned about this, just nodding their head and going with whoever pays them, ignorant of them all? I'm supposed to follow them and pretend like I didn't just experience all of this over the last year? Yeah, I think I'm just passionate about tearing people down, right? Oh, I'm so anti-Semitic, right? No, I just witnessed some horrible stuff done by those who are calling us anti-Semitic. Witnessed things that they're writing documentaries about. Witnessed hell and suffering applied to children. Do not tell me I'm anti anything, because if you didn't do all of this, I wouldn't even know who you are. If you didn't make it a point to torture people while people were holding cameras, you wouldn't hear from me. So don't give me no crap about me being an extremist in any way or anti-you in any way. I don't know any of you. I just know what you've done. I know what you co-sign. I know what you want people to think is not happening because I've been watching. And it's not harmless. So that's what needs to be said. I'm in a space where it's like, look, I don't care about people's ignorance as it pertains to they're not interested because it's politics, and I don't care about any of that. I've seen too much already. I don't give a damn about any of that. I'm telling y'all, that is wrongdoing. No matter who's doing it, no matter what's motivating it, even if it's revenge, even if it was done to you, that type of stuff shouldn't be done. Targeting innocent people should not be done. Targeting children should not be done. Attacking hospitals should not be done. Bombing tents should not be done. I don't care what your excuse is. I don't care who you're trying to shoot at while you're doing it. You're the bad guy. Period. And the first thing people want to tell us is they're using them as human shields. Why are you shooting at human shields? What happens to the Israelis if they get kicked out of their land? What happened to the Palestinians when the Israelis kicked them out their land? Why are we so okay with what the Israelis do, but not okay with what happens to the Palestinians for what the Israelis do? I'm supposed to care about the bad guy? War crime after war crime after war crime after war crime, fam. Knowing that they're doing this to people who are not going to do the same to them because they're too busy wrapped up in their belief in God, their belief in decency. The very thing that you're ultimately telling me that these people are capable of doing are the things you're doing to them. And the fact that they won't reach in the dirt down there with you is frustrating. Especially since you're telling us that that's what they do any damn way. That's the irony of this, America. They're telling you that the Palestinian people and Hamas are terrorists that they need to jump ahead of the game and annihilate. But the reality is, the only reason why the Hamas is not being able to defend itself because it's not willing to go through the measures that Israel's willing to go. It's too nice. It's too docile. That's why they keep getting knocked off. That's the irony of all of this. They're too good to do what's necessary to prevent this from happening. That's the irony of everything. God knows I would have been done horrible things in response to the stuff that's happening to those Israeli people. If you did that to me, I'm probably going to be just as horrible as the Israelis. I know that about myself. I fear that about myself. I think there may be a hell for me if somebody does certain things and I respond the way I feel like I naturally would. I'm not a good guy when it comes to stuff like you can't do that type of stuff to me. I'm going to get down to dirt with you. We both going to be horrible people. The Palestinians are not willing to do that. The Palestinians are willing to more so respect the reputation of being upholding and upstanding individuals instead of being willing to do what needs to be done to effectively deter the behavior that's coming at them. They're dying because they're not mean enough. You understand what I'm saying to you? While the people killing them are effectively justifying it because they're saying that they're meaner than them. That's what's happening. And furthermore, they're saying, well, if you're not paying attention to the situation, you need to understand that it's very complicated. Yes, people have passed away. Yes, things have happened. But look at what they did on October 7th. These are awful human beings. You got to annihilate them. They're standing behind their own, using them as human shields. And every bit of the footage that I've seen has shown the Israelis standing behind Palestinians, losing them as human shields. And furthermore, people who support the Israelis standing behind us, using us as human shields. That's the human shield evidence that's there to see. That's what's actually there, friends. But you're going to trust Harris. I mean, I'm telling y'all, man, Americans don't know what's going on. And by the time we figure it out, it'll be too late, because the strikes that have come against us for being complicit to it will have already started. Y'all going to find out what everybody was telling you today in regards to this situation when the strikes come in from places like Iran and Lebanon, who are going to inevitably want to kill all of us because of what we allowed to happen to the Palestinians. Quote unquote allowed, because we didn't even know what was going on. We were listening to liars tell us what they wanted us to hear so that we would co-sign it. And there will be evidence of my channel of an individual who wasn't with any of it. You're going to find me someday in the cloud, and then you're going to see every one of these conversations we've had since the beginning of this October situation last year. I've been telling y'all, this is awful. Israel has exposed themselves for being basically Nazis. Basically. Not a whole lot different. And America is furthermore looked as complicit as ever, because a lot of our politicians are bought by those individuals, including the people that you're about to vote for right now. They're the main culprits, keeping the lies going, telling you that, applying things that they've done to the conversation to describe the people they've done it to. That is exactly what you're seeing there, whether you know it or not. And every bit of the hate that's going to be pointed in your direction is going to be because you weren't able to find that truth in time to represent yourself better than these people are representing you. This is the truth. And there's a lot of people who are alive today who are going to try to shun that truth. They don't want you to speak that truth. They want you to see it the way they want you to see it. And you're not supposed to care about anything that's going on there. And the reality is, this is what is happening. We were cool with it because it was in our best interest to be cool with it, for those of us who were. A lot of the people who were doing the wrongdoing just were up at the time, meaning they had all the power. A lot of what goes on is controlled by them. A lot of what pays our bills is controlled by them. So it was in most people's best interest, if they wanted to continue to eat and live comfortably in this environment, to just let them do whatever they wanted to do. That is the truth. We didn't stand with anybody but ourselves and our best interests. And a lot of us don't know any better than to do so, because we weren't given the context from which to rebuttal that culture. We didn't know enough of the horrors to want to sway away from that culture. We would have if we knew how bad it was, and that's what I'm here to tell people. Most of the Americans I know, they'd have snapped out of all of this crap if they would have known just how horrible this has been. If they would have been paying attention to everything I've been paying attention to, they'd have cared a little more. They'd have cared a lot more when they found out the people they trusted were lying about it, furthermore. But because they weren't paying attention to this, they weren't able to see that. I tried. BDF 44 tried, man. I tried in real time, while it was safe, to be complicit, to wake people who were following me up so that we can have some defense against this nonsense. So that we can have some true north and understand who we should trust and who we should not. I tried. That's what I'm here to tell you. I tried, man. I used my voice to the best of my ability to wake up anybody who was paying attention to me. I tried. I saw why we should care. I saw the horrors that these people went through. I know exactly how much pain they've gone through and how much pain they're going through right now. Every single day, new people passed away because of the complicit nature of this genocide. Every single day, their image was painted as if they were horrible human beings while the worst things happened to them, and they didn't defend themselves in ways that were effective. Every single day, I watched what happened to their children. Every single day, I saw new people underneath rubble. Every single day. every day. It never ceased. The terror never ceased, y'all. So I'm trying to get people to understand. When the Super Bowl was going on, they were striking even harder. Anytime they thought the West was paying attention to something else, they strike even harder. Holidays come around, they strike them even harder. Some weird celebrity does some stupid crap that we're all paying attention to, they strike them even harder. They never let up. And all these celebrities that we worship and celebrate and enjoy, a good 99% of them were either silent or uplifting of the energy that would allow it to continue. Visited those places in Israel. They knew exactly what was going on in them places. And what I'm starting to understand, what is being unearthed to all of us who are paying attention, is that a lot of these people who are pretending to be Christian actually have Zionist and Jewish blood. That's the latest. That a lot of our favorite politicians, they're Jewish. They don't want you to know it though. They've hidden their Jewish lineage. That's the latest. Harris. Yeah, we know. She ain't just married to a Jewish man. She is a Jewish woman. And Indian, and I guess some African American, although I don't really know. But the Jewish is there. Obama, Jewish. The white side of his family is Jewish. These are people who were chosen, quote unquote. They don't necessarily want us to know it, but they are part of what is benefited in doing the genocide. They're not just complicit by way of being compromised. They're lying. And you're voting for them, man. You're supporting them. You're celebrating these people like they are not intentional on killing millions of people going forward just because of the color of their skin and where they're from. It is no doubt in my mind that a good portion of you would have been fine with me in shackles because of it. You would have been fine if slavery was carried forward in this day. You would be fine with it. Some of y'all are black and you would have been fine with slavery. It is showing in your behavior when you're fine with genocide. It's showing in your behavior when you celebrate those who are committing it. Your hypocrisy has been documented. I don't respect y'all, man. I respect myself a lot more than I respect a lot of these people, bro. Because they were very comfortable watching other people suffer because of something that was said in a religious book. I love the Bible. I really do. But if the Bible were to sit up in there and somewhere in that book and tell me to go kill a child, that's when I put the Bible down, fam. I think for myself in situations like that. I'm not about to go out and do that. God just going to have to be angry with me. That's where we would part ways. You understand what I'm saying? Religion can't carry me certain places. My mind and my sense of compassion carry me certain places. Anybody who's ever had a dog in their house knows what compassion is. I'm not following you. I'd rather follow the dog. The dog's going to have me loved by people. You're going to have me hated by people if I follow you down that path of destruction, of violence. You're going to have people wanting to knock off my head for doing that violent act. I'm not safer than neither the people I love for doing what it is you tell me to do. I'm not following you down that path. That's what's so screwed up about these Zionist entities. They don't understand that. They feel they're above the consequences of the retaliation that comes with doing these evil things to people. They're going to come knocking on your door. You're going to find a couple of those people who will devil down in the muck with you. Who will kill your innocent people. Who will do the horrible things that y'all did to these people to you for doing it. You're going to find the right ones. Y'all keep doing this. You think their children are going to grow up with the same ideals that they have? No. Because of the torture that you put them through in their early stages, they're going to be dynamite. Which is why a lot of y'all want to kill them, because you know that. But the reality is you wouldn't have to do any of that if you just wouldn't torture them to begin with. If you wouldn't just simply do away with this plan of trying to steal their land and putting them through the worst of things in the process of doing it. There's nothing wrong with just leaving people alone. There's nothing wrong with saying, may I be here, and can we find a way to amicably work out this process? Many people will work with you. You don't have to go the colonial route. You don't have to do what these people did to get this land there. But because you would not have it any other way, here we are in a space where we got to fight against the atrocities that you're doing to these people. Your reputation is shot forever. No matter how many people lie for you, no matter how many people in this time are telling you that it's going to be fine because they're going to make sure they keep all of us in line. There's no way to keep all of us in line. We saw awful things you did. There's no line to keep us in. And so that's what I'm here to tell people, man. I'm not afraid, because I know what I'm saying is what's better for all parties. Not just the people who are suffering, but also those who are doing the awful stuff. That's going to come back to you. If you're wise enough, you know that. Then to hurt people's children and think they're not going to spend the next 200 years trying to figure out how they can take that back from you. Are you kidding me? You think they're just going to forget that? Or they're just going to adhere to you or just fall back in line or whatever? No. It's not how that works. Not to mention that you let the rest of the world see what it is you did. So now it's a damn good chance that they're going to pick up where they left off. You created way more enemies by letting everybody see this. That's the part that's so cold. You do something to a certain person, fine. You let everybody see it. Now you got more people ready to get back for them. More people who are going to be offended by the thought that you could do this to anybody. That's what the Zionists need to understand. That's exactly what they need to understand. You did this in the presence of the whole world, and you were hoping that it would make the whole world just be so afraid to never try you. The reality is you made the whole world look at you as a cancer, and you know what we do to cancer. We take chemo, we have surgery, we do everything we can to get it out of our situation. Because if it's going to kill us any damn way, then why fear it? That's why it's a self-destructive thought. Because it lies to the host about what happens in behaviors that it engages in. That doesn't create the fear necessary to deter the world from trying you. That's not how that works. You awaken the ego inside of those who would otherwise see the evil you do and make them be faced with the, am I willing to dig in the dirt that those did to get back at them? That's what that awakens. The long, patient, standing individual that's going to raise his child to put himself in a position, entire family to put themselves in positions to take down from the inside out. That's what you give birth to. The patient person. One who will wait 2 generations, 3 generations to take you down, to gain your trust, to tear you down, to work his way up through your ranks in ways that you can't see so that he can self-destruct the damn thing when he gets to the top of it. You've given birth to all of that. Y'all don't understand. You think you understand because you're chosen, you've always had things given to you, but you don't understand how patient a man can be. When you force him to see the things that you've done, you give birth to a different kind of patience. When you make him see 365 plus days of murdered children in his phone, you give birth to a different kind of ambition, looking to take you down. And the propaganda machine doesn't work because the internet's in place. So the thing that made it so that all of us are docile in the presence of what you did to black people, that ain't in place. To keep all of us believing the lies, that you're a good guy and that the people you did this to are bad as you. No. No. You got too much coming against you in regards to that narrative. No. Should have cut the lights off before you did all of this. You should have turned the internet off before you did all of this. You shouldn't have let everybody see it. You weren't wise enough to work around that. You weren't smart enough to work around that. So that's what I'm here to say to all the Zionists, man. I don't care for hate of any kind. I'm not a Jewish hater, you know what I'm saying? If Zionist people stop being evil, it's not like I want their kids to die or anything stupid like that. I have no interest in seeing people suffer on any side, in any way, shape, or form. Even if they're deserving of suffering, I'd rather not see it, especially if it's happening to their kids. Even Israeli settlers who have shown themselves to be institutionally corrupt, I don't necessarily want to see their kids killed at all. That's what separates the rest of us, Goy, from the chosen ones. Goy don't want people to suffer. Not at least of all for our own benefit. Hell, a lot of us don't even want people to suffer to keep us from suffering. That makes us better than the chosen ones in that regard, don't you think? In a world full of Goy, you have a less likely chance of being terrorized. The irony of it all. We're the ones that are supposed to be what needs to be destroyed in order for the world to move in a way that is of God. And yet, the only way the world can be at peace is if it rids the world of those who were chosen by God. Irony. And if peace held no value, then why are they selling it as a guise for what is necessary in regards to all this terrorism? It's necessary to do all of this so that we can have peace. Why, if peace holds no value, then why is it necessary to keep telling everybody it does? If fairness holds no value, then why do you want to act like you're fair when you're not? These are the critical questions that I need the people on the inside of that place to ask and answer. Critical questions that obviously they're taught how not to ask. That fear is going to be the death of all of us, man. That's why I don't choose to engage in it. The fear that the Israelis engage in of what happens when they're not able to take over the Middle East, and what happens when they just simply stop killing people. And the fear of what happens to the rest of y'all if you speak against the Israelis' intentions to do so. I'm not hearing either of that. I fear what happens if I do. I grew up in a world around me that was peaceful, even though it was a lot of suffering that needed to take place for that peace to ensue. People that look like me. People that look like you. America is a place that flourishes on the backs of other people's suffering. Always has. Every good moment I ever had was enabled by somebody else suffering so in order for it to be possible. Whether it be in the upkeep of this place or the building of it. Someone had to suffer in order for each and every good day I had to exist. I believe in a world where I could have had a good day without that, though. I believe in a world where we could have found a way to have wonderful days, many better days, without the presence of institutionalized slavery or continued disturbing of pieces in other places to pillage the land. There were ways. There were always ways to find peace without hurting people. There was always ways to find peace without putting somebody down. It's that people who chose not to go that route because they found victory in the standing on the shoulders of others. It was that they were intentional on doing so, not that it was necessary. It's that they got off on knowing that they stood on the backs of others and made people suffer. That made it so that it was necessary for people to suffer. Not that it was imperative in regards to the upkeep of what we were doing. That was a lie they were telling all of us. There were other ways they could have made money. They didn't have to go that route. There were other ways they could have found the ways to create these phones that we have in our hands and get to those minerals. They didn't have to use children to do that. They never had to do any of those things. Those were lies. Just like they don't have to kill off all the Palestinians to take over occupied Palestine. They don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You chose to do that. And you chose to lie to everybody about the needingness to do that. It was never necessary. There were more diplomatic and righteous ways to accomplish all of your dreams and goals for those places. You could have made the same America right here without taking that land from the Indigenous people. You could have bought that land. You could have worked with those people. You chose not to. You chose the colonial route. You chose to make yourself feel better by conquering others. You did not have to. I never bought that lie, and neither should you. It was not necessary that they annihilate all the Native Americans. It was not necessary that they brought all of us over to work and slave over building this place. You could have had people build this place if you would have paid them fairly. And you would have had more people to upkeep the overall consumption known as consumerism. If you wouldn't have killed so many people, you would have more people to make yourselves rich off of. There was always a better way. There was always a more fruitful way. There was always more solutions found in people surviving than being annihilated by the boatload. There was always a better way. They just chose not to find it. And that is what I'm here to tell all of you. A better way forward for everybody, including them. They left their descendants with reputations and cultures of being more of the same, only to pass that on to their kids furthermore, for no damn reason. Every person I hear complain about the race card needs to understand that it was your ancestors that enabled that to even be a thing. And everybody who's trying to keep their children from knowing the history of that, or furthermore passing their grandchildren more of the same, you are not helping anything. Least of all yourselves and your reputation. You're just furthermore passing forward the same nonsensical reputation that was passed to you. Stop taking from everybody. Stop pillaging places. Stop harming innocent people. Stop painting innocent people out to be your enemy. They're not terrorists. They're reactionary to the terror that you engage in. They are survivors. And if you don't do what you do, they will never have anything to defend themselves against. That's really all there is to say, man. A lot of us pride ourselves on being good people, but we continue to engage in cultures that continue to make us worse. And it's going to age poorly, and we're going to be vilified for it. And that's just what it is. You had a better heart than the world is going to tell about you, because you were trying to make each other happy when knowing damn well what was going on under each other's noses in a lot of cases. You knew better. You knew better, but you wanted to do what you wanted to do. You wanted to seem cool in the presence of people who were going to judge you for doing the right thing the wrong way. You wanted to fit in with people who were all going to go down as horrible individuals in the end. You were primitive in nature because of it, man. You could have been better. Video 44, I thank y'all for watching.